My name is Sarah, and I'm 52 years old. My house is quiet now. The chaotic, beautiful symphony of childhood that filled these rooms for 25 years has faded into a gentle echo. My 3 children, my greatest accomplishments, and my most profound teachers are grown. They are out in the world, building their own lives, making their own mistakes, and hopefully learning their own lessons. And I find myself in this newfound quiet, reflecting on the whirlwind that was their childhood. I think about the thousands of decisions I made, the sleepless nights, the endless worries, the moments of pure, unadulterated joy. And I've come to a startling conclusion. Most of the things I thought mattered, the things I obsessed over, the things that kept me up at night, they didn't matter at all. And the things that truly shaped them, the things that I wish I had known from the very beginning, are not what you think. They are not the things you read about in parenting books or see on curated social media feeds. They are quieter, subtler, and far more powerful. And that is what I want to share with you today. The 4 profound, game-changing lessons I learned after raising 3 kids. The things I wish I had known. For 25 years, I was a warrior of motherhood. I was armed with schedules, charts, and the latest parenting philosophies. I was determined to get it right. I thought that good parenting was a matter of optimization. I thought it was about providing the best of everything. The most nutritious organic meals, the most enriching extracurricular activities, the most stimulating educational toys, the most perfectly curated childhood experiences. My life was a frantic dance of carpools, play dates, homework help, and Pinterest-worthy birthday parties. I was the master of the balanced meal, the queen of the clean house, the CEO of my children's lives, and I was exhausted. I remember the Great Broccoli War of 2005 with my eldest, Liam. He was 4 and he hated broccoli. I had read an article that said it was crucial for children to eat a wide variety of vegetables to develop a healthy palate. So, for weeks, every dinner was a battle of wills over a few florets of broccoli. There were tears, there were tantrums, there was a standoff that lasted until bedtime. I was convinced that I was fighting for his long-term health. I was so focused on the broccoli that I missed the bigger picture. Our dinner table had become a war zone. The feeling in the room was one of tension, of conflict, of a power struggle. He wasn't learning to love broccoli. He was learning that dinner was a time for anxiety. I remember the pressure I put on my daughter Chloe to be a star soccer player. She was naturally athletic, and I had visions of her on a college team, a scholarship in hand. I hired private coaches. I drove her to tournaments every weekend. I analyzed her performance after every game. She was good, but she didn't love it. She wanted to be in the art club. She wanted to spend her weekends drawing and painting, but I pushed. I told her she had a gift, that she couldn't waste it. I thought I was teaching her discipline, the value of commitment. What I was actually teaching her was that my approval was tied to her performance in an activity that she didn't even enjoy. I was teaching her that her own passions were less important than my ambitions for her. And my youngest, Ben, he was a sweet, sensitive soul, and I was constantly trying to toughen him up. When he would cry, I would say, "You're okay, brush it off." When he was scared, I would say, "There's nothing to be afraid of." I thought I was teaching him to be strong. What I was actually teaching him was that his feelings were an overreaction, that his sensitivity was a weakness to be overcome. I was teaching him to build a wall around his own heart. The broccoli, the soccer, the toughening up, these were all part of what I call the noise, the endless, distracting, and ultimately unimportant details of parenting that we obsess over because they are tangible, because they are measurable, because they make us feel like we are in control. But they are not the thing. They are the thing that gets in the way of the thing. The real work of parenting, the work that truly matters, is happening in the quiet spaces in between. It is happening in the way we talk to our children, in the way we see them, in the way we make them feel. And that is where I made my biggest mistakes and where I learned my most profound lessons. Lesson number 1, the word "and" is infinitely more powerful than the word "but." This is so simple, so small, but it changes everything. For years, I was a "but" parent. I love you, but you need to clean your room. You did a great job on your test, but you could have done better on the essay question. That was a nice goal, but you need to work on your defense. The word "but" is an eraser. It erases everything that came before it. It invalidates the praise. It negates the love. It turns a statement of connection into a transaction. The child hears, "My parents' love and approval are conditional. I am not enough as I am. There is always a but." I remember the moment this clicked for me. Chloe was about 15. She had spent weeks on a painting for the school art show. It was a beautiful, moody landscape full of a depth and emotion that startled me. She showed it to me, her eyes shining with pride, and I said, "Honey, this is absolutely beautiful, but I think this corner here is a little too dark." And I saw it. The light in her eyes dimmed. The pride on her face deflated. She took the painting, said, "Okay," and went to her room. I had done it again. I had erased her joy with my "but." That night, I went to her room. I sat on her bed, and for the first time, I apologized. I said, "Chloe, I was wrong. Your painting is not beautiful, but it is beautiful, period. And I am so proud of you." It was a small shift, but it was the beginning of a new way of communicating. I started to consciously replace "but" with "and." I love you, and I need you to clean your room. You did a great job on your test, and I'd love to help you think about how to make the essay even stronger next time. That was a great goal, and let's work on some defensive drills tomorrow. The word "and" is a bridge. It connects. It says, both of these things can be true at the same time. My love for you is constant and unconditional, and there are also things we need to work on. It separates the child's worth from their behavior. It is a game changer. Lesson number 2, you are a gardener, not a carpenter. This is a metaphor that has become my parenting mantra. A carpenter takes a piece of wood and forces it into a shape of their own design. They cut it, they sand it, they nail it, they bend it to their will. The final product is a reflection of the carpenter's skill and vision. A gardener, on the other hand, takes a seed and provides the right conditions for it to grow into what it is meant to be. They provide the soil, the water, the sunlight. They protect it from pests, but they do not try to make a rose grow into a sunflower. They trust that the blueprint for greatness is already inside the seed. Their job is to nurture, not to construct. For years, I was a carpenter. I had a blueprint for each of my children's lives, and I was determined to build them according to my specifications. Liam was going to be the scholar. Chloe was going to be the athlete. Ben was going to be the tough, resilient one. I was constantly cutting, sanding, and nailing, trying to force them into the shapes I had designed for them. And in the process, I was chipping away at their authentic selves. My shift to being a gardener was a slow and painful one. It began when Chloe, at 16, finally broke down and told me, through tears of exhaustion and resentment, that she hated soccer, that she was only doing it for me, and that she wanted to quit. The carpenter in me wanted to argue, to persuade, to remind her of all the time and money we had invested. But for the first time, I saw the pain in her eyes, and I listened. I said, "Okay, you can quit. What do you want to do instead?" And she said, "I want to join the art club. I want to take a pottery class." And so we did. And I watched my daughter come alive. I watched her find her passion, her tribe, her joy. She was a sunflower, and I had been trying to force her to be a rose. The moment I stopped trying to build her and started trying to nurture her, she blossomed. Being a gardener means trusting your children. It means believing that they have their own unique blueprint for greatness within them. It means seeing their quirks, their passions, their sensitivities, not as flaws to be corrected, but as clues to who they are meant to be. It means trading your agenda for their journey. It is a terrifying act of faith, but it is the only way to raise a child who is not just successful, but whole. Lesson number 3, an apology is a superpower. As parents, we are desperate to be right. We believe that our authority rests on our infallibility. We think that admitting we were wrong will undermine our position, will show weakness. But the opposite is true. A genuine, heartfelt apology is one of the most powerful tools a parent has. It does not show weakness, it shows strength. It does not undermine authority. It builds connection. It models humility, self-awareness, and the courage to take responsibility for our actions. It teaches our children that it is okay to make mistakes, and that relationships are resilient enough to withstand them. I was not an apologizer. I was a justifier. I was a defender. If my kids called me out on something, I would explain why I did it, why I was right, why they were misunderstanding me. It took me years to learn the simple, profound power of the words, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" The apology to Chloe about her painting was a turning point. But the biggest apology of my life was to Ben. When he was in college, he went through a period of depression, and for the first time, he told me about it. He told me about the anxiety, the sadness, the feeling of being overwhelmed. The old me, the carpenter, the fixer, would have jumped in with a 10-point plan, but the new me, the gardener, just listened. And when he was done, I said, "Ben, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for all the times when you were a little boy and you came to me with your sadness, and I told you to toughen up. I am so sorry for all the times I made you feel like your feelings were a problem. I was wrong. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a superpower. It is what makes you so compassionate, so creative, so kind. And I am so sorry that I didn't see that." He started to cry, and I started to cry. And in that moment, 20 years of walls came crumbling down. He let me in. He let me see his pain, and I was able to sit with him in it, not as a fixer, but as a father. That apology didn't magically cure his depression, but it healed something in our relationship. It taught him that he was not alone. It taught him that his heart was safe with me. It was the most important conversation of our lives. Lesson number 4, they remember the feeling, not the details. This is the one that brings me to my knees. For years, I obsessed over the details. The perfect birthday party with the matching decorations and the homemade cake. The perfectly clean and organized house. The perfectly balanced and nutritious meals. I drove myself to the point of exhaustion in the pursuit of a perfect childhood for my kids. And you know what they remember? They don't remember the theme of their 7th birthday party. They remember the feeling of being celebrated. They don't remember the spotless floors. They remember the feeling of a relaxed and playful home. They don't remember the organic quinoa salad. They remember the feeling of connection and laughter around the dinner table. I learned this lesson a few years ago. On Christmas Day, I had, as usual, run myself ragged trying to create the perfect Christmas, the perfect decorations, the perfect meal, the perfect presents. By the end of the day, I was exhausted and irritable. My kids were all home, and we were sitting in the living room, and I asked them, "What's your favorite memory of Christmas?" I was expecting them to mention the year I got them the giant trampoline, or the year we went to Disney World. But my son, Liam, said, "You know what I remember? I remember the year the power went out. We couldn't cook the turkey, so we ordered pizza. We couldn't watch TV, so we lit a bunch of candles and played board games all night. We were all just together, in the dark, laughing. That was the best Christmas ever." And it hit me like a ton of bricks. The best Christmas was the one that I didn't plan, the one that was a complete disaster by my standards. Because it wasn't about the details, it was about the feeling of togetherness, of connection, of spontaneous joy. I had been so focused on creating the perfect picture that I had missed the point of the picture entirely. So, this is what I wish I had known. I wish I had known that parenting is not a performance. It is a relationship. I wish I had known that my job was not to create perfect children, but to love my imperfect children perfectly. I wish I had known that the quiet moments of connection are more important than the loud moments of achievement. I wish I had known that my children's feelings were not problems to be solved, but invitations to be closer. I wish I had known that it's not about the broccoli. It's about the feeling at the dinner table. It's not about the soccer scholarship. It's about the joy of watching your child pursue their passion. It's not about toughening them up. It's about being a safe place for them to be soft. It's not about the perfect details. It's about the imperfect, beautiful, and messy feeling of being a family. That is what I wish I had known, and that is what I hope, for your sake, you will learn much sooner than I did. You will come to understand. Let's go back to the gardener versus carpenter metaphor, because it's so central to this shift in perspective. As a carpenter, I was always looking at my children with an eye for what needed to be fixed, what could be improved. I was constantly measuring, sanding, and correcting. My feedback was almost always critical, even when it was disguised as helpful. I was trying to shape them into my idea of a perfect person, but in doing so, I was sending them a constant, subtle message. You are not good enough as you are. You are a project that needs to be completed, and that is a heavy burden for a child to carry. The shift to being a gardener required a fundamental change in how I saw my children. I had to learn to see them not as lumps of clay to be molded, but as unique, mysterious, and wonderful beings with their own innate wisdom and their own path to follow. I had to learn to be a student of my children, to watch them with curiosity and wonder, to ask them questions about their inner world, to listen to their dreams and their fears without judgment. I had to learn to trust them. And that was the hardest part, because trusting them meant letting go of my own need for control. It meant accepting that their path might not be the one I would have chosen for them, that they would make mistakes, that they would feel pain, and that I could not protect them from all of it. I remember when Liam, my eldest, came to me in his junior year of college and said he wanted to change his major from pre-med to philosophy. The carpenter in me had a heart attack. Philosophy? What kind of a job can you get with a philosophy degree? I had visions of him living in my basement at 30, debating the meaning of life. My every instinct was to talk him out of it, to show him the logical fallacies of his decision, to remind him of the secure and prosperous future he was throwing away. But by then, I was learning. I was trying to be a gardener. So, I took a deep breath and I said, "Tell me more. What is it about philosophy that you love?" And he talked. He talked for an hour about the big questions that were fascinating him, about the books he was reading, about the professor who had opened his mind. He was alive, he was passionate, he was on fire. And I realized that my job was not to extinguish that fire with my own fear and practicality. My job was to fan it. So I said, "Liam, I don't understand it, and I am scared for you. But I see how much you love this, and I trust you. I will support you in whatever you decide." He changed his major. He graduated with a degree in philosophy. He went on to get a law degree, and today he is a brilliant civil rights attorney who uses his philosophical training every single day to fight for justice. He found his own way, and my role was not to pave it for him, but to get out of his way and let him walk it. This brings me back to the idea of the noise. The noise is all the external stuff, the stuff that society tells us matters. The grades, the sports, the achievements, the college acceptances, and we get so caught up in the noise that we miss the music. The music is the internal stuff. It's the child's character, their values, their emotional intelligence, their kindness, their resilience, their sense of self. The noise is about what they do. The music is about who they are. And what I've learned after 52 years is that the noise fades. The trophies gather dust. The report cards are forgotten. The college bumper sticker peels off the car. But the music lasts a lifetime. The kindness, the resilience, the sense of self. That is what they will carry with them long after they have left our homes. So, how do we tune out the noise and tune into the music? We do it by focusing on the feeling, not the details. We do it by being gardeners, not carpenters. We do it by using "and" instead of "but." We do it by apologizing when we are wrong. We do it by creating a home where it is safe to fail, where it is safe to be imperfect, where it is safe to be your true, authentic self. We do it by asking ourselves at the end of each day, not, "What did my child achieve today?" but, "How did my child feel today? Did they feel seen? Did they feel heard? Did they feel loved unconditionally?" I think about all the energy I wasted on the noise, the hours I spent drilling Liam on his multiplication tables when I could have been reading him a story, the weekends I spent driving Chloe to soccer tournaments when we could have been painting together in the backyard, the conversations I had with Ben about being tough when I could have been holding him and telling him it was okay to be sad. I can't get that time back, but I can use the wisdom I have gained to be a different kind of mother to my adult children and a different kind of grandmother to their children. I can focus on the music, I can be a gardener, I can be a safe harbor, and I can share my story with you in the hope that it will save you some time, in the hope that it will give you permission to let go of the noise, to let go of the pressure, to let go of the illusion of control. Your children are not a reflection of you. They are a reflection of themselves. And your job is not to shape that reflection into something that makes you look good. Your job is to hold up a mirror and let them see the beauty, the wonder, and the infinite potential that is already inside them. Your job is to love them not for what they do, but for who they are. That is the thing. That is the only thing that truly matters. Let me be clear. This is not about permissive parenting. It is not about having no rules, no boundaries, no expectations. Children need structure. They need to understand that they are part of a family, a community, and that their actions have consequences. But the structure should be a trellis, not a cage. It should be a framework that supports their growth, not a prison that confines it. And the expectations should be about their character, not their accomplishments. I expect my children to be kind. I expect them to be honest. I expect them to be respectful. I expect them to work hard at whatever they choose to do. But I no longer expect them to choose what I would have chosen for them. I have traded my expectations for their journey for my expectations for their character, and that has made all the difference. The quiet in my house used to feel like a loss. It felt like the end of the most important chapter of my life. But now I am learning to see it differently. It is not an empty quiet. It is a peaceful quiet. It is a quiet that is filled with the echoes of a childhood that was, despite my mistakes, filled with love. And it is a quiet that gives me the space to reflect, to learn, and to become a better version of myself. A version that is less of a carpenter and more of a gardener. A version that is less of a warrior and more of a witness. A version that is less of a fixer and more of a friend. And I am using this quiet to build a new kind of relationship with my adult children, a relationship that is based not on my agenda, but on their reality. A relationship that is built on a foundation of trust, respect, and a whole lot of apologies. It is a relationship that is less about me teaching them and more about me learning from them. And it is a relationship that is, in many ways, more real, more honest, and more intimate than the one we had when we were all living under the same roof, surrounded by the noise of my ambition. So, if you are in the thick of it right now, if you are drowning in the noise, if you are exhausted from the endless dance of trying to get it all right, I want to offer you a lifeline. It is this: let go. Let go of the perfect. Let go of the plan. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the need to be right. Let go of the illusion of control and just be. Be present. Be a gardener. Be a safe harbor. Be the calm in their storm. Be the one who sees the music, not just the noise. Be the one who remembers that it's not about the broccoli. It's about the feeling at the dinner table. That is the secret. That is the thing I wish I had known. And that is the thing that, if you can embrace it, will change everything.